today, we're lucky enough that Blue is nice enough to join us after getting off the plane from LA, I'm assuming yesterday, after experiencing the ARC World Tour Finals. There was more to the ARC World Tour Finals than just the tournaments, right? It looked like they had like a whole show floor. What else did they have there that we didn't get to see while for us watching the stream?
What you guys didn't see, at the entrance, they had like a little DJ booth where just people were playing music outside, and there are like some food trucks, so you can just listen to music while you're eating. Their entire experience was trying to make it feel like more of a festival than just a normal fighting game tournament. So all the booths were arranged in a way that's kind of like a Japanese like festival booth. So you're like, hey, let me look at your wares. Oh, shirt. Oh, t-shirt. M.Ray jackets. All that kind of thing. Right behind me, they had various DJs playing in the background, just playing various Guilty Gear music. Over here, they had the shooting gallery where you can like shoot Nerf guns and try to win prizes. One of the prizes, if you like shot 3 things, was like an acrylic stand, and I got myself. It's a Blaze Blue Central Fission acrylic stand.
Oh, hell yeah.
The rest of the area where they had like a Guilty Gear gallery, so you can just see different artwork of various Guilty Gear titles from like the original Guilty Gear, like the artwork for that, to like modern stuff. And they even had like little tidbits of Blaze Blue stuff sprinkling in as well. It was really cool to see like that. They had, of course, the ABBA demo station where people got to play ABBA. There was the Guilty Gear board game, the Guilty Gear White Suite card game expansion that they just announced. Just a bunch of places where you can just hang out as a Guilty Gear fan. Of course, the art gallery was there with the British English voice actor. Throughout the day, they had various like show matches with the developers of Guilty Gear Strive and Under Night, which I tried to fight Gamone in Under Night and Birth 2. Got whipped. That man knows how to play some Under Night. I was watching on my way back. I was looking at Seijam's video where he was like he was vlogging the entire experience, and him and Hotashi met, and he's like, "This is the first time in a long time that it felt like the fighting game Pro Tour final felt like a actual like another event instead of just being like, oh, it's just for the players who qualified. Like, what reason other than that? If you're not qualified, why would you be here? That kind of thing.
Something else I wanted to point out that I thought was really, really cool, and it was one of my favorite parts of the weekend, was how much the commentators got to interact with the audience. Mm-hmm. That I thought was so cool. And I mean, they were having issues with the game, and sometimes they had the stall or whatever, but they took to the crowd the stall, and everybody stalled together, and it was really cool. Like, people were just like holding up signs, like a bunch of people got pictures of Seijam. When the host was doing a walkthrough, you were at the Arxis booth when he showed up.
I remember I was there when the camera came up, and I was like, I don't want to be here.
Dude, it was so
also
funny.
During the Grand Blue Top 8, they just put the camera on me. I'm just like, huh? What? And then they did it again, and I'm like, why? Why you put me on the camera twice? Go to the cosplayers.
The highlight of the weekend, aside from the tournaments, of course, is this. So they had a whole concert, and Daisuke came in to play Smell of the Game at the end. This stuff was sick. At first, I was not, like, I didn't know how this was going to go, right? I did not know how this was going to go. I knew they had the concert planned, and all I could think about at the time was when Cap Jams were at Evo, and they played some dope-ass music while they were on break and stuff. But seeing the full concert, seeing Daisuke up there doing his thing, seeing Naoki, who after the first song, he was like, I'm losing my voice. At first, people in the crowd were afraid to get into it, right? Like, everybody was just kind of sitting. They were doing the thing with the glow stick. And then Aisha was like, can you guys just stand up? and then the party got started, right? How was it at the venue itself? Because we couldn't hear the crowd all that well.
Yeah.
Like, the mixing on the stream was a little bit weird.
That you put for the Daisuke reveal for Smell of the Game did not do it justice. That place went insane when Daisuke came out. And it's just very cool to see Daisuke, who is the general director for Guilty Gear, just being like, you know what? I make this game. I'm gonna come and play my own freaking music. That concert was very fun. I think the difference between that and like when we had Evo and they were doing Cat Jams, doing TMNT and all the different songs was we knew about it beforehand and it was not going alongside top eight. We were like, hey, this hour, just Guilty Gear concert. If you don't care about the Guilty Gear concert, you guys can go and check out the other stuff. We'll be back for the top eight right after. If you want to hear the Guilty Gear music, come in, enjoy. We'll try to put on a good show. So I think that's the real difference because at Evo, they try to do it between top eight matches. They did that before top eight for 3-5-6, which is still the biggest game of the event. So everybody was just ready to see who won top six for the biggest freaking fighting game tournament of all time. So there was this. I think those were the two big differences for it.
For sure. No, and hearing that the crowd was going crazy is so good to hear. Because like it's difficult to show the vibe of the room via a live stream, right? Especially when like the mixing was a little bit off on the stream, and I'm sure like on the venue was also a little bit weird. Like that's not like the primary. That's not the primary directive here. This concert, but I'm sure if you go back to the stream of me watching it, like at first I was just like, all right, let's go listen to this concert. But by the end of it, I was like, yeah, smell of the game.
I think that's how a lot of people were at as well. Like they started off with Find Your Own Way, Soul's theme, and then they started going into some of the other things. And I do think the moment that Aisha came out to do Disaster of Passing, that's when everybody was like, okay, now we can have a little bit of fun. Her singing voice live sounds like almost one-to-one with how it sounds in the games. Like studio, which is insane how close they sound.
Dude, that's awesome. It's very ironic that like the May theme is what people like go at because everybody hates fighting against May.
No, it was so funny because I was watching the concert like near the back just so I can just see everybody's reaction. And when they got to smell of the game and they announced that it was the last song, I'm like right behind Ubane Play, who was like, "Give me Amelia theme. That's all I want. Where's my subhuman self?"
Oh, dude, that's funny. And they did Town Inside Me, too, which was so funny to me. Oh, man. And then I played against Bridget a little bit today, and I was like, I don't like that song anymore. Man, like that. What a good idea. What a good idea. And I'm so happy it was received well, and I'm so happy.
I really hope they bring it for future years and maybe change the set list a bit so it's not always just, Soul theme, Kai theme, Potemkin, stuff like that. I do hope they do more themes, especially when you're getting these new DLC characters that everybody's starting to love coming back. So
yeah, no, 1,000%. And this is what I want to see, right? Even if it fell apart and if it didn't go great, like fine, at least you tried something. But the fact that they tried it and it came out great, and it even though like the audience at first seemed a little hesitant, but like once everybody was like, "Oh shit, this is actually fun."
Right. And that's the same way with the festival kind of feel too. I wish there was a picture to show you guys. Check Twitter. But the way that the arena was laid out, it looks like a Japanese festival. Like you would go to a Japanese festival like sometime in the summer and you would just see all these different booths and all these different fields. Lanterns were on the ceiling and stuff like that. It made it feel completely different from like any other fighting game event that I've gone to in a long time. The vibes were definitely different, even though it was a Pro Tour finals.
No, I'm a big fan. Give me 3 of your favorite things that you experienced while you were there.
The vibes that happened while I was at Aqua Tour is just unmatched. As you know, I go to a bunch of events. I've gone to Evo, CEO, Taku. And it just felt so different from everything else. Not everybody was there to compete. Like I said, by Friday or so, there's only like 24 people who play into video games at this point in the tournament. So most of the people that were there were just there to check out all the different booths, check out the tournament itself, just watching the stream. It was so much fun just talking to people, hearing how people were reacting to these certain moves, to these certain players and stuff like that. It was all just very fun. The commentators, they you could tell that there was a lot of liberty for them to really talk about the game and stuff like that. Like I personally don't know how controlling when it comes to like Capcom Cup or SNK they are about talking about other fighting games, but they were at liberty to talk about literally anything they wanted to.
Mhm.
They talked about the history with Aaron DeMack playing both Dragon Ball, and he was in Guilty Gear while he was still playing the Grand Blue LCQ. We got to talk about some of the things, what like old Guilty Gear games, talking about Blaze Blue, talking about Persona and all these. They talk about Street Fighter, even games outside the company. It's like you can tell that the commentators were able to talk about however they want and tell that story to the audience about why this meant so much for different players.
Mhm.
Finally, I never thought that I would be there.
So how did this whole thing come about where you got invited to, if you're allowed to talk about it,
Yeah,
how did you get
perfectly
invited
fine.
to go cover the event? Like what was that whole situation?
So pretty much how you described it, it started out in like an email where they were like, "Hey, we seen your work with Anime FGC News. Do you want to come out for Arc World Tour Finals? You can have interviews. You can go and play test a new character if you like." And I'm just like,
Check the
"What?
sender.
Huh? Is this real?" And I was just like, "Sir, I'm interested. Just give me a bit to figure things out." And I'm just like, this is not a joke, right? But every single time it just turned more and more real. And when I got to the venue, I got to talk to the guy who I've been in communication with, got my badge, has literally said media on it. I think just that full entire experience was really useful to me. I got to meet so many people who either heard about Anime FTC News, talked about AFTC News, followed the Twitter account and stuff like that, and they just appreciate all the work that I do. That it just felt very positive and
Oh
motivating
yeah.
to hear how many people really enjoyed that account. It's very crazy to see.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. After the entire tournament, they showed that Guilty Gear is indeed getting a season 4 in Strive,
Mm-hmm.
and that the last character is Slayer.
Well, we don't know if it's Slayer. They could trick us, but
Dude,
probably Slayer.
somebody, I forget who it was, but I think it was when I was streaming. Somebody said, like, what if it's like Morrigan or something, like completely off the wall?
What about Daro?
Dude, that would be wild. That would be wild. But tell me, like, I saw videos of like people high fiving and shit after the reveal. It was very, very funny. What was the room like? What, like, were people like popping off?
Everybody was going insane.
Hell
Everybody
yeah.
wanted that character. If it's Slayer, let's just put this out there. Let's
Mhm.
assume it's Slayer. Everybody was so happy about it. They had the cameras locked to the cosplayers. Credit to them, by the way, for cosplaying Sauron and Slayer together. That
Oh
was
yeah.
very awesome to see them. And I saw them right after the show ended, and they posed the picture with the cosplayer for Nagaruyuki. And I was just like, "Yo, this is the true message, the true meaning of dandyism."
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, yeah, there was a lot of people cosplaying, which was so cool to see. I've been like, man, the more people who are cosplayers are like getting exposed to the FGC and coming to cosplay at FGC events, like I feel like events are way better off with people cosplaying at them.
There were so,
Um,
there were
yeah.
so many different like British cosplayers. Of course, they had the official cosplayers for like I think it was May, Milia, Eno, Faust, Kai, and Nago. I think those were the official ones. And then people also came in with like I think there were like two different Johnnies.
Hmm.
There was another Nagaruyuki, like a bunch of British cosplayers, and then they even had some for like Grand Blue and Under Night as well. Like there was a Carmine Plus cosplayer.
Ooh.
There was a Anila cosplayer with her husband, I'm guessing husband or boyfriend, cosplaying as one of the sheeps, which was really funny.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing them.
Yeah, so it was just a very fun time just checking out the cosplays.
On a scale from 1 to 5, where would you put the Arc World Tour Finals this year? And be honest, not just because they brought you out there.
I would say 4. I
4.
honestly would say 4. I think the biggest problem with it was just like a lot of production issues.
Mm.
Like the missing wasn't well. I really wish that the side plates, so you know how they had the two characters on each of the
Mm.
sides, or what they showed that the character that each of the players were playing, and so more to that kind of thing. Again, that's just like that's my personal take for it.
Mhm.
But outside of like the stuff that happened on stream or something that happened while you're watching the tournament itself, there was that's probably one of the better events I've gone to all year. Everybody was just there to have fun. Like when you were watching Grand Blue, you saw like a crowd of people just holding up stickers and
Yeah.
having signs of different Grand Blue stickers. You had a friend of mine who was wearing a Fukuhara, who is a director of Grand Blue Fantasy. He has a mask of the guy just on the side. And Okubo literally like, hey, give me the mask, give me the mask. Put the mask on his face while they were taking the top 8 picture. You had Daisuke coming down just to play his own music from his own video game. And just the concert in general, you had people yelling, freaking when Slash was starting to make his comeback, Tosugeki, Tosugeki. Everybody was just having such a fun time from beginning to end. Even the directors who were down there, it was mostly Akira, Ken, and Kamone who was mostly just going around the venue. Daisuke was just like kind of in his own little world. They all just seemed like they were having such a fun time the entire weekend that it's just the vibes were good. I think that's like the best way for me to say that. It's just like everybody enjoyed themselves from start to finish, even if everything was not perfect, which is why I gave it a 4 instead of a 5 out of 5. It's just like everybody enjoyed themselves, and I think for a tournament, if people can go away saying that they enjoyed each day, which is like the final thing I can come up with, was at the entrance was these 2 different posters. And I think they're freaking hilarious. They had on the side a freaking Guilty Gear tier list. Instead of like being SA, like how you rate characters, it was like too cute for this world. Character who needs more Guilty Gear merch. Character that is cool. Character that is not cool. Everybody else. Everybody was just changing the order. And as I was leaving the venue on like day 1, I was talking to this one guy. And he was like, "Don't you think Elfel is cute?" And I was like, "Yeah, Elfel's cute," but Elfel was like in the merch side, and I was like, "But Elfel needs like cool looking merch." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. She needs merch, but if you put her in cute, that will default her to getting more merch." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. You can be cute, but you don't have merch. That's why you have Jacko." We were just having cool conversations like that. And then also like at the end of every day, they had like a little survey. Put in the dot where you think your favorite event was and how do you feel about the whole event in general. And I barely saw anybody that said that they were like neutral to dissatisfied. They were either satisfied or very satisfied. The Guilty Gear Strive was some of their favorite parts of the tournament. The concert was their favorite part of the event. Um, Going to check out the art gallery, playing against some of the developers. Like everybody had like a moment that they just had so much fun with. And I think when it comes to having an event, even if it's not a Pro Tour final or anything like that, if you can have something that somebody can take away from as a memory, then you
Mhm.
did your job. Your job you well. You did your event well.
Yeah. I've been saying it jokingly, but I kind of mean it. We live in a vibes based economy. And the fact that the vibes were good is genuinely all I think we can ask for, especially like at a finals, right? Because it's so hard to get people to go to like people who don't play to go out to like a World Tour finals or something. So the fact that they did
Yeah,
this.
and that's so cool. That was really interesting because literally I had so many people when I was talking to them just say like this was their first fighting game event. Wow, who would
Wow.
think that their first ever fighting game like event would be a Pro Tour final that they probably weren't invited to?
I wonder how did they find out about it? I wonder. Maybe they just like Guilty Gear and they were like, oh, look,
Yeah,
this thing.
I would assume they like one of the games because there's not a lot of like super majors happening in California nowadays. There's
Hmm.
like very few and far between. So they probably heard the Arc World Tour Finals was taking place and like, oh, this is actually nearby. Let me go down to that. And
Hmm.
they had a blast. I asked them, did you have fun? And they just said this was one of the coolest things I ever gone to. So
Hell yeah. Dude, that's amazing, man.